We'll start in a bit.
Hi, good morning on Tuesday, June 11th. For those of you, hopefully you enjoyed a beautiful weekend. Those of you who have kids that are off on school, congrats on the first week of summer. For those of us that are still in school, it seems like it's never ending. Uh, congrats. Sweet. Well, we have a couple updates for the group this morning. I sent a note out last night regarding commissions. We'll give you an update as to where the system stands. Two, give you a little bit of an update as to industry changes with regards to the settlement as August 17th is coming up. Three, got some training and events. And then four, I'll wrap it up with a little bit of a macro overview of what's going on within the industry and what I'm seeing from a data perspective and where the industry's heading. My foreshadow to you, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's a bit of a mixed bag. And that's interesting to say sitting here in June, when June historically, seasonally, is at the peak of our market. So something to be paying attention to as we wrap that up. First, mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. One of the things I wanted to highlight this morning for the group is success results through people. And we've really been afforded an incredible leadership team who has been incredibly stable and consistent in serving the group, many of whom have been around for many, many years. And for that, I'm eternally grateful for. But there's two people in particular that absolutely are worthy of celebrating this morning. First, Caitlin Macchio got married over the weekend. Caitlin is an incredible person who bounces mainly between North Shore and Tosa. She just bought a home about a year ago with Ann Kleber up in the Fox Point area. She's just, she's an incredible woman. She got married this weekend in downtown Milwaukee. Her family's from California. His family's from Minnesota, and they've kind of settled in the Milwaukee area, so they hosted their wedding here. And so when you see, they are currently on a short little, what's like the mini moon? Thank you. It's not their honeymoon, but they're on a mini moon up in Door County, and she'll be back in the office later this week. So when you see her, give her a hug and congratulate her on her big day. Second, this hopefully doesn't embarrass this person, but we have an incredibly talented person on our leadership team who is an absolute ripper on the bass. And she's super talented. I've seen her live at Bayview Bash. But this past weekend, she played at Locust Street Days on Sunday. And so I wanted to shout out and give a shout out to Steph, Lieutenant Steph. Played an absolute ripper of her performance Sunday night. And she was beaming ear to ear, as you can see here. But it was fun for her to play her passion in front of her friends and family. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Steph this morning to start it off. So congrats to both Steph and to Caitlin. Cool. All right. So operations and accounting updates. Last night around probably 6:30 or 7 o'clock, I sent a note out to the group with just an ask of a little bit of patience for us. So where we're at, we've talked about it, is we are moving in, the system itself is moving into being able for you guys to be able to access command in real time, where your cap status is, and a variety of other features that you will see again in real time. Yesterday, as of June 10th, yep.
There's issues on Zoom. Can you stop sharing? Share no one on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. Willis, give me a thumbs up. Can you see that? Perfect. All right. So update in transactions in command, a few things to note. Yesterday, Monday, June 10th, agents have the ability to continue to submit commissions in command. I know there was a 1 week period where we asked you not to submit it. So as of yesterday, the system is back up and live for you to be able to submit any accepted offers that you may have from a commissions in command standpoint. Two things important to know. One, the back-end system that Jen, Emily, and Michelle utilize to process nearly about 60 million in commissions annually is new for them. So there's a bit of nuances for them getting acclimated to back-end systems and processes, which is taking them a little bit more time to learn and build new habits of operating. And they're also having to go through and audit everyone's splits, caps, and everything in between to ensure that all the data that was moved into the new system is accurate for all 650-ish associates in southeastern Wisconsin. So it's a little bit of work. I guess my big ask is continue to ask for your patience. We are now have the ability to process commissions as of yesterday, but now typically what we do is we process them as they come in, but because we had an entire blackout window where we weren't able to process last week, except for a handful that needed them promptly, they're having to do 2 weeks of information and data in 1 week's of time during, quite frankly, what is peak season. So it is asking a lot of them on the back end. So I appreciate your patience. If there's something you have questions to, I would ask that you please reach out to the team leaders so that we can minimize disruption for Jen, Emily, and Michelle as much as possible so that they can get back up to speed and ensure that the commission processing is at a turnaround time in which that you guys expect from us. So we ask again this week as we're working through that. If you have any questions, please reach out to the team leaders during that time. Cool? Sweet. Appreciate it, guys. Next up, next week, June 19th is Juneteenth Day. And a little bit, Juneteenth is coming up and a federally recognized holiday in 2021. And for many folks, Juneteenth Day is considered the second Independence Day. And a little bit around what Juneteenth Day is. It was the Emancipation Proclamation that was made effective in 1863 that ended slavery and could not be implemented in places still under Confederate control. And so there were people, even though the Emancipation Proclamation that was happening, there were still within Confederate states that didn't recognize this. So freedom finally came roughly 2 years later on June 19th, 1865, when Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to help release basically the last slaves down in Texas. And the Army announced that more than 250 enslaved Black people in the state were freed by executive decree. This became known as Juneteenth Day, which happens every year on June 19th. It's the second Independence Day for many Americans for more than 150 years after slavery officially ended. And a bill was signed federally to recognize it as a federally recognized holiday. Most businesses recognize now Juneteenth Day. Banks are closed, and we will be doing the same here at KW Milwaukee. I'd encourage you to get out into the community. If you haven't been, there is actually a phenomenal Juneteenth Day celebration downtown. I've actually been to it several occasions during my time at Miller. It's a real eclectic celebration, I think, of culture and seeing things through different people's viewpoints, I think, is incredibly healthy, and perspective is important in our lives and helping understand of who we are and what we serve. I'd encourage you to take a moment of reflection or learn more about it. And if you're so moved, like, go down and celebrate. And Juneteenth Day in Milwaukee is a really, really neat day. And I've had the opportunity to participate in it about 4 or 5 times. So next week, Wednesday, is June 19th. Our offices will be closed in recognition of Juneteenth. All right. What is winning? Keeping us in perspective. I just want to remind the group of the Keller Williams Listing Network that comes out from Willis on Fridays and Mondays in order for you guys to be able to submit and gather information and get the information back out to you guys. Also, here's our accepted offer insights. From 795 accepted offers, the baseline hasn't changed, which is interesting. So list price to accepted offer price ratio is remained relatively constant. Inspection contingencies roughly at around a 60-40. Financed offers are right around a 70-30 split, or 70-30 finance, 30% cash. Average down payment of finance deals is around 18%. You can see the 17% of deals have appraisal gaps, and the average appraisal gap being offered is $13,000. We're going to continue to track this, especially because I gave a little bit of a hint that the market's a bit of a mixed bag and that we're looking for when it is that trends begin to change. They haven't yet in terms of offers, but here's what's been going on over the last several weeks to help you guys educate both your clients on the list side and the buy side. With that, I'm flipping it over to Linz, who's got a little bit of a tech and marketing update for you around how you can implement your Summer Touch program.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and happy summer. It feels officially like summer now that kids are out of school. It's getting a little bit warmer, kind of. So I just wanted to take a few moments just to really hone in on creating a summer touch program, creating these systems, because I'm sure a lot of us like to go on summer vacations, or maybe your business is really amping up in June and you need to maybe automate some of this. And that's where our 12 direct campaigns come into play. And that's where smart plans are incredibly helpful. So I think it's really important to take a look at some of this, because this is meant to help you and save you some time. And so you probably have seen me post some of these and talk about some of these already, but we have the Milwaukee Summer Festivals ready and available. There's a ton on here. So even if you haven't set this out or posted this on social media, or maybe if you want to send this as a 12 direct postcard campaign, there's still a ton of festivals still to come this summer. So feel free to take this and share this out. The QR codes that you see on the screen here will take you directly into the Google Drive folder, which houses all of the marketing materials, the grab and go materials that we have available through our marketing concierge. So we have the image files and we have the PDF files all in that folder. We still have the farmers markets. So we do Milwaukee area. We also do Madison area farmers markets. Madison folks, we also sent over a summer festivals schedule for the Madison area as well. So you'll see that. But farmers markets go through usually October, mid to late October. So really great content that you can schedule out, whether it's an email, whether it's a direct mail postcard. So we really want to encourage you guys to utilize these and schedule these out. I know a lot of us just don't have the time to sit down and do this every single week or a couple times a month. If you have this scheduled out, then you know that you have that system in place. Last week, if anyone was at James Shaw, he talked a lot about these systems and 100 touch system and different ways that you can build up to 100 different touches. This is what the goal of this 12 direct campaign is all about. We also have 4th of July fireworks schedules. So if this is also a really great one to send out in June, a lot of these happen around the 4th or usually a week before. So it's a great postcard or email or social media post to post in the next couple of weeks here. So again, that QR code is going to take you directly to accessing all of these designs. In addition, we have a really great KW Milwaukee land team. So if you guys haven't met the guys that are part of Outdoor Dreams, I highly recommend that you get to know them a little bit and kind of understand, you know, the type of business that they do. But we created a specific smart plan for you guys to utilize and send to your database. And essentially, it's meant for you to really tap into that database to see if you have anyone in there that maybe is looking to sell some land, some acreage, or maybe you have someone in there who's looking to buy a big parcel of land. And so what the Outdoor Dreams team is offering, they're offering a 30% referral for any land listings or a 25% referral for any buyers that you have. So again, tap into your database and then you can refer them to our land team, Outdoor Dreams, Ed and Matt. They're great guys. So if you haven't met them, reach out to them, get to know them. But we have this email smart plan in command. It's in our KW Milwaukee smart plan library, and it's completely built out. You guys, these are emails that are already built out. The content is in there. You don't have to touch it if you don't want to. So take a look at that. We've got that in there. Social branding boot camp. Again, we're doing this through the month of August. So we have so many different fun topics for our social branding boot camp. We've got some great special guests. We had Willis in the TOSA office last week talking about social media and Reels and the differences between Instagram and TikTok. We're going to have them back for a part 2, so stay tuned for that. But this week we are diving into what is ChatGPT? How do you use it? How do you create a prompt? How can you use it for your marketing, your social media? So we'll be really discussing the specifics on that. And then I'm so excited for tomorrow. We have our Realtor Refresh, free headshot, and marketing rebrand day tomorrow at Lakeshore Commons. It is filled up, but if anyone wants to get on a wait list, feel free to reach out to myself or Bella. I'm sure we can maybe squeeze you in if we have someone drop off. But we've got that happening tomorrow down in Oak Creek. All right, and that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Sweet. All right. So I am stepping in for the sheriff today. Okay. Compliance updates. Your antennas may want to be up. These are things you want to pay attention to because we're going to help you understand how the industry is changing between now and August 17th. Okay. We're also going to give you things in bite-sized pieces. Okay. Because things are changing. And things are changing before they're changing, before they're changing, before they're changing. So we're giving you things in bite-sized pieces to help you purposely. Second thing you also have to understand, as an industry, we work within an environment where the state controls our forms. That's a very important factor that most of our peers don't have across the country. The state in the REB, the Real Estate Examining Board, controls our forms. The forms will help us dictate as an industry how we move forward in Wisconsin. So this isn't like I just want you to be very clear. This isn't like a KW versus Shore West versus Coldwell Banker versus First Weber versus Every, so on and so forth. We're as an industry working together to figure out how the pathway we move forward, how the REB adjusts the forms in order to create more transparency within the contracts to help you alleviate some of the pressures that you're feeling. Does that make sense? And things are changing before they're changing, before they're changing, before the deadline, before they're changing. So it's a lot to keep up with. And there's a few updates that I want to keep you apprised to that you should be paying attention to in the next 60 days. Okay. So what do you want to do and how should you be paying attention now? First, we've talked about this a lot, but there are 3 key points I want to make. Okay. In Wisconsin, we have successfully been working with written buyer agency agreements for over 25 years. Buyer agency agreements in our environment are not new. What is new is people's ability to articulate what a buyer agency means. And so it's important that we're getting ahead of this. And I know we've been challenging you that over the last several weeks, but it's been in place for 25 years. 2, we negotiate for you with the seller's representative. Learn about your comparative value of the property and put your interests above your own. Okay. 3, our value is compensated by the seller, the seller's firm, and our client, as stated by the buyer agency agreement. Our commission is negotiable, and what we receive in compensation is transparent. That might be altering in terms of where compensation is discussed. Okay. Now, here's something to note before I move into what it is that you need to be paying attention to in the next 60 days. Yesterday, I did a deep dive into data, just our own internal organization. Anybody want to have a bet with me in terms of where commissions are going, up or down? Yeah. Commission rates on average are up 1/10 of a point in the first 6 months of the year. So kudos to you in terms of articulating your value in order for you to get what you believe you are worth. And I think sometimes when there's so much what is going on in our RASs, we are telling ourselves stories that aren't actually factually true. Make sense? Now, and that's not to say that I know that people are playing different games and trying to figure out where this thing lands. Net across several thousands of transactions so far through the first 6 months of the year, transaction commissions are up 1/10 of a point.
On the buy side or both?
Blended across all transactions. So what is going to happen in the next 2 months and what do you need to be paying attention to? 1, new WBs will be drafted. When, where, how, and what that looks like, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I can assure you things are coming down the pike that will alter it for the entirety of the industry. 2, existing transactions up to August 17th. This is important. You are going to want to ensure that you amend or write offers on behalf of the buyer, reaffirming compensation to the buyer's agent. If you are in an agreement and it closes post August 17th, you want to get a written agreement in place. If there is co-broke compensation being offered, you want to ensure that that is on paper and written. And you cannot assume if your deal closes post August 17th that the co-broke compensation that was offered in the MLS previously will be adhered to unless it is in writing. You got me on that? That's a very important point to make. So an example is future offer to purchases within your buyer agency agreements. You need to make sure that compensation is clearly articulated and in writing and agreed to by both parties.
As an additional feature in the standard performance.
I would do that now. Because here's the problem. Come August 17th, there is nothing in, let's just say a hypothetical. You get an accepted offer today and your closing date is September 1. There's nothing that guarantees, but you don't have co-broke compensation written to and agreed upon, written. Just because it's in the MLS post August 17th does not guarantee that that will remain the same. So what we're advising you to do is to make sure that it is written currently moving forward. Make sense? Cool. As we get more updates, we'll keep you posted. But that was the most pertinent to make sure that you guys are paying attention as to what's going on, because there will be, here's what's going to happen. Just like Joni says, you're not a real realtor until you buy a water heater. There will be a scenario, I would imagine someone across our industry, there will be a change after August 17th on the seller side and it wasn't in writing or agreed to, and they'll get burned by it. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention and that you're protecting your interests in terms of how it's being communicated and articulated. Cool? All right, sweet. With
So
that,
what is for attached, number 3?
there's a co-broke commission agreement that has been drafted. It's in our Zip Forms library that allows you to attach it within the offer to purchase that clearly articulates that the listing agent adheres to what it is being offered as it stands today. Cool? Awesome. Training and education updates. We'll get through this. June calendar, a handful of things. Headshot day tomorrow. There is 40+ people signed up down at Lakeshore Commons on a beautiful Wednesday to get updated headshots. So pay attention there. We have the social media stuff happening throughout Thursdays in the month of June. On June 19th, as a reminder, the offices will be closed in observance of Juneteenth Day, and June 21st, Maureen and friends will have a special guest to pour into the group at 10 a.m. via Zoom. A couple other things to note. On Wednesday, June 12th, which is tomorrow, at Estherbrook Park, Cream City is hosting their summer kickoff and picnic. Feel free to bring friends, family, clients, whoever. They're live music, face painting, drinks, food. Team at Cream City between Blake, Dana, Gustavo, John is throwing a party for the group. So anybody would like to show up, please RSVP. They would appreciate it. Next, Commissions in Command. We'll have some upcoming trainings coming up the 13th, the 17th, and the 18th. We also will have a forthcoming video that we are working to, is a really quick 90-second to 2-minute tutorial as a quick updates as to what has changed and what you need to be paying attention to within Commissions in Command. And we were working on that yesterday to get that out to the group, and there will be a follow-up communication with that tutorial along with these trainings upcoming. Next, clean up your database, clean up your habits with Abby on Thursday, June 19th via Zoom. If you need a little bit of a database assessment, organization, and D2DT with a twist, jump in with Abby. Interesting opportunity coming up also on the 13th and the 20th. Get leads, work leads, close leads. Jeff Glover and James Shaw talked about the DISC and how when you mismatch your profile with those that you need to communicate with is when issues show up. Both James and Jeff have address this. And we had an opportunity to bring in Eric Forrestal with Workforce Renegades to talk all around the DISC and how do you understand who you are and who you are communicating with in order to alter your communication style to help you convert your business. DISC, all for real estate agents. So the 13th and the 20th forthcoming. And then these will not be recorded, just in person. It's a partnership we're leaning into a little bit to help with communication styles. So more news to come on more accessibility to this in the future as well, if you can't make those 2 dates at those 2 locations. Next, Ladies' Day Off and Monday, June 17th at Holy Hill. Feel free to register today. Last day to register is today. I know that there's close to 80 people registered for an incredible morning to get away. Highly recommend the opportunity for you guys to take a pause in the middle of June to just take a deep breath. Highly encourage it. Lots of great things coming up that the ladies have put together to help pour back into the group. So pay attention there. And then lastly, Ignite is coming back in the month of July. We have found 12 incredibly talented instructors to pour into you. The beautiful thing of Ignite is diversity of thought, diversity of approach, how you approach this business, learning from different people, from Amanda Schroeder to the Wilds to Mark Smith and Tina Reddick and everywhere in between. It's an incredible group of folks to pour into you. And it is meant for those who are in business as well as those that are getting into the business. It does not mean that you have to, it's not necessarily for new people. I remember I taught it multiple times where I've seen Peter Gossman in the room. I've seen Lindsay Weber in the room. I've seen a variety of folks in the room because they're looking for new ways to think about how they differentiate their approach in this business. And Ignite is a great 12-class way in order to do that. It starts July 10th and it will be in person only. Lastly, we had a great event last week with James Shaw. We had about 125 people down at the Memorial Veterans Center downtown on the lakefront. Couple things I want to recap for the group, and I think these are incredibly important as we head into the May metrics. Okay, incredibly important to pay attention to heading into the May metrics. One, James led it off with saying it's going to be a tough year for home buyers and sellers, and yet your goals still fits within 4.4 million units that will transact on an annualized basis. As I always said, there's 52,000 transactions that'll happen in southeastern Wisconsin. Every single person in this room can fit their goals within the 52,000 in southeastern Wisconsin. Two, focus on people and stop focusing on money, and it will all work itself out. Buyer satisfaction and buyer agent use and seller satisfaction and seller agent use has gone up every year since 1998. The last 2 years were the highest utilization of agents within the industry. Your value is in your relationships and the process. Your value is developed in the relationships you have and the process that you deliver. Because it's going to get hard before it gets easy and the market is tough. And there were two things. I had a huge epiphany sitting in that room thinking about the many relationships that we have at KW and when anxiety, stress, and pressure shows up. And I could never really put a pinpoint on it in terms of being able to articulate it. And James said it very clearly. Pressure, stress, and anxiety shows up in this business when you have a lack of financial reserves or you have a lack of a pipeline. It's pretty straightforward. Your anxiety, pressure, and stress will go up when you have a lack of reserves and you have a lack of a pipeline. You have to become obsessed with being consistent. You have to be obsessed with being consistent. Okay? Couple other points to make. The market doesn't determine your success. The market determines your strategy. Think about that. The market doesn't determine your success. The market determines your strategy. And understanding through lead generation, or as I like to call it, forced human interaction, is the 90-10 principle. 90% of your database has no real estate needs today. Only 10% do. Your job is to work the 90% so that over time, because we know that times take between 3 to 5 years within a transaction, over time, the 90% move into your 10% and not somebody else's 10%. Okay? And you have to continue to keep making noise and connect with your database. It's not that they don't, and this is an incredibly important point because I hear this from people who have limiting beliefs around their marketing, their value, and how they communicate who they are and what they do. It's not that they don't like you or that you're annoying or they don't hear from you. They hear from you. They just don't need you today. Consistency without value is annoying. Value without consistency is anonymous. Think about that. You cannot over communicate to your database. You can only under communicate. So James last week in his session with us provided us 3 action plans. 1 was the 100 touch program, 2 was the calendar driven system, and 3 was the 15th day protocol or the 5 p.m. protocol, and how you take action and how you stay on track. And for the 125 people in the room, I think that I can say that James delivered incredible value in helping you understand the systems. And for those that weren't in the room, guess what we were able to do for you? We took his material, we downloaded it to the KW Realty MKE website. You log in and go to your Agent Hub. If you haven't been to the Agent Hub, you should probably check it out because there's more resources in here than you know what to do with. And in the Agent Hub, you'll have everything that you need access to, including the event resources with James Shaw that he presented on last week. So if you're interested in learning more about how you implement a 100 touch program, how you implement a calendar driven schedule, how you implement the 15th day protocol, the 5 p.m. protocol, go to KW Realty MKE website, go to the event resources. And Lindsay had this up before the end of the training for you guys to be able to access all of his material so that when you need it, you're implementing it. Now, the challenge to the group is, for those that were there, what is it that you are implementing? Education without implementation is just entertainment, and you are not in this business to be entertained. So what is it that you need to implement, or how do you alter your mindset in order to create your action? Because you all have the opportunity to achieve your goals and dreams within the market that we have today. 50,000 transactions that'll happen in southeastern Wisconsin, 4.4 million will happen macro across the US. You can do it. You have to the market will determine your strategy, and then you have to implement your strategy. So that was James Shaw last week. Sound good? Love it. All right, here we go. Market insights for the month of May. And I went back to something I've reminded the group many, many times, but I know that I have to repeat it like a broken record. It is a humbling market. Great markets don't last, great agents do. You're not in it for a great year, you're in it to build a great career. Stay focused on those 3 things and you will be resilient. Okay? In December, I shared with you my outlook. My prediction was if the market was flat, I'd be happy. If the market was up single digits, I'd be ecstatic. I was realistic about where I thought the market was going to be. So let's take a look through May where we're at. First of all, going back to June of all the way of last year, June through May, so the latest 12 months, you can see the trend lines. And I like looking at this because you can see the trend of perspective based on leading metrics, listings taken units and contracts written units, and how they lead to closed units. And over the last 12 months, you can see how those trends have changed, how the trends have changed within the lag metrics, which is closed units. And you can see successively month over month how things lag in the lead metrics, lag the lag metrics by 30 to 60 days and how that shows up. So in the month of May, let's look at the lead. Let's look at closed units. Okay. Closed units in the month of May were up 6% across the entirety of the 5-county metro area in southeastern Wisconsin. Not overly surprising when you look at the last 3 to 4 months before it and how it's led to the trend change that we've seen from when we were sitting here last year at this time talking about down 20% to up to 14%, 6% respectively. Year to date, the market's up 8%. Now, based on my prediction, I'm pretty happy with an up 8%. Here's where you need to start paying attention to, though. Again, and I don't want to create an alarm bell, but here's something you need to notice. Contracts written units, which is buyer side portion of the transaction, and we have not seen a lot of softness and demand in this recently, was down 2.6% in the month of May. Listings taken units were up 3.6%. Now, it's the first thing I'm going to start paying attention to and how it impacts all of our future metrics in successive months. But it's something you definitely want to be aware of. Let's get into a little bit more of the data, and then I'll give you the grocery store market of the moment script that boils it all down to help you tell the story. New inventory units in May was up 4.9%, 125 additional units versus last year, still down versus what was the peak of the market in 22, down 18%, or we've lost 604 units since in the last 2 years that normally would have come to the market. Okay. Total inventory is up 2% versus last year, or about 100 units, but it's still down about 1,000 units from where it was in May of 22. Expired inventory, I've talked about this a lot. We are seeing a significant increase in expired listings. Expired listings in the month of May were up 20% versus last year and up 20% versus May of 22. There is 2 things to learn in this, and I've repeated this a million times. One, you have to be proactive in your communication and have your pencil sharpened up front when you go into listing presentations, so you're not over promising and under delivering, because sellers now more than ever are giving people the hook faster than we've ever seen. Okay. 2, there is a real opportunity to help some people diversify their strategies that have never focused on being the second listing agent, to come in and course correct what the first agent didn't do, to right size the relationship and earn an extra deal. Okay. Next, sales absorption. This is important to pay attention to because this will help you understand why I'm starting to see softness on the buyer side in demand. Sales absorption is the percentage of inventory that goes under contract in a given month. Okay. In May of this year versus May of last year, it was down 5%. It's the first time you can see here cyclically how it builds. It's the first time where we saw a dip from April to May. Seasonally, this doesn't typically happen in the month of May. So I'm seeing some very slight softness in demand for the very first time in May of 2024. Something I'll be paying attention to. Again, 1 month is an anomaly, 2 months is a trend. We'll have to see what June brings us. Average days on market, however, this is where I say the market's a mixed bag, because velocity and the rate of sale has not changed. We are operating at the exact same pace we basically have been at in the last 2 years. Days are on the market for basically 30 days. Okay. Units that are going under contract was down 3%. So this is the leading metric of the future of where the business is potentially heading, was down 55 units, or down 3% versus May this year versus May last year. It's not totally surprising because we saw softness in the absorption rates. So something I'm paying attention to. Now, here's where I talk out the other side of my mouth and I'm like, well, the market's a bit of a mixed bag. Why? Average pricing was up 12% this year versus last year, and median pricing was up 9% this year versus last year. And if you look at the 2-year trend, the average is up 15% and the median's up 17%. So the interesting thing about where I'm starting to pay attention to this is yes, we're starting to see signs where price or where demand is showing some slight softness, but it yet has not impacted appreciation and values. Okay. When you look at price per square foot, May, I don't know what, that's my apologies. May of this year versus May of last year was up 8% versus 2 years ago, it's up 17%. So as I started in the beginning, I'm going to end with this. Our leading indicators of listings taken units and contracts written units are what I pay attention to in the future. And then obviously some of the additional metrics that I was showing you. I'm paying attention to what's going to happen in June. And I can look at this on a weekly basis, and I'm tracking it on a weekly basis versus prior years to see where kind of the industry is heading from a demand standpoint, which then will the first thing that will show up will be velocity in terms of days on market, months of supply inventory, and then pricing will be impacted. And then what will ultimately, depending on where this goes, you'll see inventory continue to spike, and we'll play again. The market determines the strategy you have to implement. And the reason we pay attention to the market is so that you're proactive to the strategies that you're implementing with your clients. So when you're at Pick and Save, you're at Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly. Shop the pig. Or you're at Sendix or Quick Trip, and someone walks up to you in the store and says, so what's happening in the market? You know, what do you know? For a lot of people, it's Quick Trip. The largest grocer in the state of Wisconsin, Quick Trip. Don Z has a powerhouse of a business. La Crosse's finest. Anyways, I digress. So here's my market of the moment grocery store script for you. The market is healthy, but there are signs that we are paying attention to within our industry. Okay. The market's up 8%. You know, you got to remember for the last 18 months, all we've been talking about bloodbath, bloodbath, you know, the media is talking about how the market's so soft, this, that, and the other. The market's up 8%. Lead with positivity and abundance. New listing inventory is up 7%. That's healthy. Like on a year-to-date basis, that's healthy. The velocity of the market, ironically, the market is operating very comparable to years past in terms of velocity and the pace in which deals are transacting. Like deals are happening fast. And you got to be paying attention to within your price point bands how long and fast they're happening. And I'll give you a real example. Those that above 750 to 5 million or 10 million or whatever, they don't transact at 30 days. Be real with, if you're taking those luxury listings, be real with your clients on how long this is going to take. Okay. And I can help you in that if you need additional data as to what that looks like right now. And the demand of the market for the first time in May, we're seeing a bit of a mixed bag. We saw some slight demand softness, yet homes are moving at similar rates and home values continue to appreciate. So if you really think about the market of the moment script, what I'm trying to do is give you positivity and abundance, but also be real with our clients in terms of where the market is at. I'm not hiding behind the fact that metrics are starting to see some slight or softness in demand. We want to be proactive in our communication and be upfront with our client, our listing clients especially, so that we're right-sizing expectations. And yet, it's hard to tell why prices are up another 8% again in the month of May, and they're up 17% over the last 2 years. So, you know, it's not as if people aren't valuing the real estate. It's just we're going to have to see here and pay attention to during the peak of the market where this heads for June, July, and August. Make sense? A little bit of a mixed bag, but that's kind of how I see it as it stands today. Also, if you didn't know, every single week, these slides are updated to kwrealtymke.com. So if you need any of these information, just as I showed you before on how you access the James Shaw information and resources, you can also access these slides because Lindsay uploads them every afternoon on Tuesdays. Cool? All right. With that, I'll leave you with this. The group is slaying the dragon. What do I mean by that? In the month of May alone, we paid out $6.7 million in commissions. It was up 19% versus May of last year. Year to date, we've paid out $20.7 million in commissions. It's up 14% versus last year. Now, mind you, the market on a units basis is only up 8%. That's why I say the group is slaying the dragon and you're seeing the results, but because you're implementing the strategies you need to based on where the market of the moment is. And with that, I'm happy to announce and excited to announce for the group in May, we'll pay out $112,000 in profit share, which is a 1.5 increase versus May of last year. Year to date, we'll pay out $288,000, which is a 7% increase year to date so far. And make sure you check your bank accounts on June 21st, which is next week, Friday, for that mailbox money. Sound good? Sweet. Guys, it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. Appreciate the world is run by those who show up. Our teams are here to serve you, and we appreciate your patience during a little bit of a processing point in our business of getting you the money that you've earned as fast as humanly possible. If you have questions, reach out. We're here to serve. Thanks, guys.